Hello and welcome back to the Villa Filler podcast. I'm riding solo this time. Dan is not about, unfortunately, but I am back. A sight for sore eyes, I am sure. But we've got some big news, and that is that Tyrone Mings has been called up to the England squad for friendlies against Malta and North Macedonia. And I think long-time listeners of the podcast would know this kind of stuff doesn't usually bother me. I don't let the sort of the players that don't necessarily make the squad, or the players who do make the squad, it doesn't usually bother me because I've sort of washed my hands with Gareth Southgate at this point. I know he doesn't often pick Aston Villa players when he often perhaps should or could have called them up, not necessarily to big tournament squads, but certainly to these sort of qualifying and friendly squads like we're experiencing here today. But it goes without saying, Tyrone Mings absolutely deserves this. Us Villa fans know he's had a fantastic season, and especially under the tutelage of Unai Emery, his game has gone up levels that I don't think even I expected, being a big Tyrone Mings fan. It's no secret the Villa Filler podcast loves Tyrone Mings. Dan loves Tyrone Mings. I love Tyrone Mings. We will defend that man till the very death because we just think he's a great player and a great bloke. But he deserves this. He really does. And looking at the squad, I know I said I don't usually get bothered by it. I still can't believe Harry Maguire's still been called up. But it's an interesting choice because there have been some players that have been included that, for the longest time, I think people have been saying Lewis Dunk, this is a guy who should be in the England squad, especially with how Brighton are playing, currently above us in the table in sixth. Obviously, we play them at the weekend as well. Very deserved call up for Lewis Dunk. Mark Gahey of Crystal Palace, great shout. He's sort of been in and around squads. Erebici Eze, another Crystal Palace player, absolutely deserves to be in there. Looking at Conor Gallagher again, wondering how he's got in there. Calvin Phillips only started his first Manchester City game last week after they wrapped up the title and has only made, I believe, like just over 10 appearances off the bench. Absolutely crazy that with his lack of minutes, he's not in the squad. That he's made it in the squad, sorry. It's quite crazy. But other sort of omissions from Villa, I think looking at our team, it'd be great to see Konsa in there. He's clearly never going to make it. I think Mings is as good as Konsa. Our defense, it's a partnership at the end of the day. That's what it comes down to. I think they've both been extremely solid, again, especially since Unai Emery has come into the club. But I just don't think Konsa's ever going to get a look in, especially, as I say, when you've got players like Dunk, Gahey, and I mean, John Stone's fantastic. He's absolutely phenomenal centre-half who should rightfully be in that squad and is. But, looking at some of the players from Villa who potentially missed out, Ollie, we joked about it at the time. Obviously, he gave birth to his second child recently. And after he had the first kid, he went on a mad drought where he just didn't score in like over 10 games. And it's happened again. He was in fine form. He's had his second baby. And I think the nights of little or to no sleep are taking its toll on Ollie. So obviously, congratulations to Ollie for giving birth. But he has not necessarily been in the greatest form recently, so it's no surprise he hasn't made this squad. Goal scoring form. He's obviously been playing well for Villa, just hasn't necessarily been finding the back of the net. Obviously had that penalty miss at Anfield as well. But in general, Ollie's game has been good, but he's not sort of been finding the back of the net as he was sort of 5 games ago when he had that mad run of scoring ended. Particularly away from home as well. You could always bet on Ollie scoring. JJ, he's another one. I'm looking at Eze being called up, and he has been phenomenal. And I just think that Jacob Ramsey probably goes a bit under the radar. And I'm very happy about this because we have the same issue. I mean, Jack Grealish is in the England squad right now. And for years, we were screaming we want him to go there. And the minute he gets called up, he's getting touted by all the City lads. Next thing you know, he's playing for Man City. So if we can keep JJ in B6 for as long as possible, keep him away from that England squad, I'll be happy. But I know JJ will want to be there because he's captained under 21s a lot, and he's pretty known within the England ranks. So it is somewhat surprising that he hasn't been called up to this squad specifically. Again, you're looking at Calvin Phillips and Conor Gallagher getting called up. Jacob is quite underrated in the fact that I think he can play as a 10 and as an 8, definitely not as a 6. But he offers, he can cover so many different positions there, provides a lot of energy, goal scoring threat. It's a great goal that he scored at Anfield as well. I know Dan spoke about it. when he did the post-match reaction, but that kind of goal, that epitomises where JJ is, where he's going. And again, just to gush over Unai Emery, what an elite manager can do for these players, because JJ's ceiling, I don't think we've experienced just how good he can be. And that's quite frightening, really, because he's been pretty consistent as of late. And he's adding the goals to his game, adding the assists to his game. So hopefully we could see JJ get called up in the future. But again, I'm not losing sleep if he doesn't. England is generally, with a fit squad, pretty stacked in that midfield situation. And but it would be great to see him partner alongside Jude Bellingham, wouldn't it? Have that Villa Blues connection in the midfield. That would be something interesting. But yeah, it's exciting for some of the new call-ups. But again, as England squads go, pretty standard. Former Villa goalkeeper Sam Johnston in there as well. Absolutely deserves it since Roy's come in at Crystal Palace. He's been brilliant, and I think Palace have as well. And that shows with the 3 players that they've had called up. But yeah, guys, let us know what you think about this England squad. I will be reunited with Dan tonight, and I can't wait for it. We've got a transfer rumour mill coming. We have got the preview for Brighton as well coming. And I mean, you guys know there's been almost too many transfer links over the past weeks. But don't you worry, Dan and I are going to get our heads down, and we're going to take a look at some of the best, how they'll fit in and all that stuff. So let us know your thoughts on Tyrone being up in the England squad. Let me know who you guys think should have been in the squad that didn't make it. Not necessarily Villa, but just in general. I'd love to know. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. And yeah, like, comment, subscribe, and up Villa.